Hi YouTube, welcome to Chilling with Henny. Today we will be making filet mignon and potatoes. The ingredients we will use are 8 ounces of filet mignon, 85 grams of carrots, 100 grams of mushroom, 240 milliliters of beef stock, 280 grams of potato, 9 grams of cornstarch, 3 grams of fresh crushed garlic, 1 teaspoon of rosemary and sage, both fresh. Okay, let's get to it. First of all, the most important thing of all is salt. Let's make sure that we season every part of the steak, top, bottom, and sides. After we get the salt in, we're going to go for some fresh ground black pepper. Same as the salt, we got to make sure we get every nook and every cranny. Next, let's spray avocado oil on our pan, and let's make sure we get it nice and hot. As you see, I'm waiting until I get a little bit of smoke coming out. Once I get some smoke, I'm putting the steak down, and you immediately hear some sizzle. Make sure you hear that sizzle, otherwise you did not wait long enough. Now we just put the steak down and let it hang out for a good while till we get a nice sear. Okay, let's take a look below. It looks like we have a nice sear, so now let's turn it around and get it to the other side. It is very important that we brown all the sides. Let's not worry because this is very high heat, so we're only searing and not cooking. It will be completely raw inside. We definitely can't forget about the edges. Let's make sure we get all the edges and use flavor everywhere we can get it. Now that we have a beautiful sear, we're going to wrap the steak in aluminum foil. I will be using 2 sheets of aluminum foil to make sure that any juices that accumulate do not fall, do not go anywhere. Once it's wrapped up, I'm going to be using a meter thermometer to make sure I am able to check the temperature through my phone to make sure that we do not overcook it. Once the steak is wrapped up, I'm just going to leave it in the oven, let it do its thing, and check on it later. Okay, now let's move on to the potatoes. Let's put a little bit of oil on our pan, and now that it's ripping hot, let's get the potatoes in there. We want to make sure that we get them as flat as possible so the most possible surface area can start browning. After a minute or two, once a little browning has occurred, let's open it up. Let's start shaking them, make sure that they don't burn. We just want them to brown, and just give them a quick little shake. Next, I will be using a different pan so that I can cook the mushrooms and the carrots. If you're wondering why I'm using a different pan, it's because the pan that I started with was too small. I should have used a bigger one. Okay, again, we're going to start with a little bit of avocado oil. Then we're going to place our mushrooms. We want to make sure that we get the mushrooms nice and brown because that will add flavor. Next, we also want to make sure we season the potatoes. We cannot forget. Let's give it a generous portion of salt and pepper, and then let's mix it in. Let's start developing flavors on our potatoes. Next, we're going to turn our mushrooms around. Let's do it one at a time, and you'll see that each individual mushroom will have some browning on them. We do want to make sure that they're all individually turned so that we don't have some gray sides and some brown sides. After that, we're going to be adding our carrots. Let's get the carrots in there, and we'll also have to make sure we season these vegetables. Again, we're going to be using salt and fresh pepper for both of these. Now let's give them a nice little stir. Let's see how it's looking. Yeah, it's looking good. Now that the carrots and mushrooms have got some browning, we're going to return the potatoes. Let's give them a quick stir, and once they've gotten to know each other, we're going to add our fresh garlic. We want to make sure we add it now so the garlic can release its flavor. We got to make sure we give it a very, very thorough mix so the flavor can be released throughout the dish. After a nice little mix, Next, we're going to be adding our fresh rosemary and our fresh sage. Let's also allow it to mix. And right now, if you're doing this, you will smell the garlic and the herbs, and your kitchen should be extremely fragrant. Once we have done this, we're going to add our 240 milliliters of beef stock. And since our pan is hot and the beef stock was room temperature, it will be boiling right away. After a minute or two, we're going to remove our veggies. Once the veggies have been removed, we have that leftover stock that has been flavored by all the vegetables and the garlic and the fresh herbs. Next, we want to make sure that we add our cornstarch slurry. You will notice that I used 9 grams for the recipe, but I'm using little by little to make sure that I get the consistency that I like. If you like your gravy looser or thicker, do it however you like it. You'll see that I get to a consistency where I can wipe the fork through the pan and it will be following me slowly, not too thick. That's just how I prefer it. Once the gravy is to the consistency that you like, just take it out. And last thing we have to do to it, we have to taste it for seasoning. In my opinion, it still needed a little bit of salt and a little bit of pepper. And there's one last thing that I'm going to add, but I'll add that a little bit later. You will see. Okay, here it is, the last ingredient for the gravy. Our steak has been cooked and it has been resting. As it rested, it left some juices behind for us. So the juices that have been left there, we're going to add that to our gravy. That will be the last thing that we add, and it will just punch the flavor to another level. Hey YouTube, thanks for coming to Chill with Henny. Today we have meat and potatoes. Just took it up another level. We have a filet mignon that we seared and then finished off in the oven with a beef gravy, and then we put the juices from the steak into the gravy. And as for the side dish, we have potatoes, carrots, mushrooms. We did put some fresh rosemary and sage in there along with garlic, and finish it off with some green onions. It looks delicious. Time to try it. And as you'll notice, it's a large portion because, you know, we like to eat well. Okay, let's dig in. We'll start with the side dish because we do want to leave the best for last. Well, the potatoes taste great. You know, they're cooked very well. The carrots were able to retain some crunch, which is always nice. So you can have the contrast between the softer potatoes and the crunch of the carrots. Now we have to taste it with some of the gravy because, you know, it looks good. The gravy is so beefy, so tasty, it elevates it to a whole nother level. I mean, potatoes and gravy, what else can we ask for? Time to try the steak. Let's see how we did. The steak is very well seasoned. We added salt and pepper to every piece of the steak, and we can tell. Now let's try it without the gravy. As we know, filet mignon, you can't really go wrong with it. It is such a tender cut, and for me personally, it's my favorite cut because it is extremely lean. And compare it to a ribeye or a New York strip that has the fat on the side or the internal fat. So this is a much lower calorie cut. So you can still have your steak, but not break the calorie bank, you know? Well, once you guys are seeing this, you'll have the calories up there. But for this large portion, I think we're around 600 calories. It's an 8-ounce steak, a huge amount of vegetables. And my suggestion to you is try to always have your plate more veggies than meat. It's the key to getting filled, staying fit, losing weight, and enjoying your food. Thanks for chilling with Henny. I appreciate it. If you like it, please like it, subscribe, hit the notifications. If you have any comments, any questions, please write them down. And thanks again. At this point, I kind of thought the camera was off, so I just started smashing through my food. You'll see that I put a whole bunch of the gravy in there. It's just delicious. I couldn't stop myself. And then once I realized the camera was on, I was like, oh, well, might as well show you guys what the steak looks like. So thanks again for hanging out with me. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please press like if you did like it, and subscribe if you want to see more content. I will be dropping videos Tuesdays and Fridays. Thank you very much.